Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Another Wednesday student-only live stream. All right. So, Lord Humongous, you're asking about stability issues on 2019. There is one known stability issue, and it's a phantom bug that I don't know if they can find it or not, but sometimes 2019 will just disappear. So save often, but other than that, it's fine. I've only had it do it once since I've been using it, and that was during my live stream on Monday. So that was not good. So yeah. Anyway, we're good. Hello. How's it going, you guys? Okay, so last Wednesday we left off with our sirloin in this interesting state. I wanted to talk to you guys about ZBrush 2019 because it has so many cool features, and I couldn't talk about it. I was in the beta, but I couldn't talk about it because I was under NDA, and it kind of it kind of pained me to go through this with you guys because I knew that ZRemesher was out there, the new 3.0 ZRemesher, and that it was so much better. Yet I was struggling to build this guy's face with the old ZRemesher, and it was killing me. It was killing me. So hello everybody, and also folders. We have 25 subtools on this guy so far, and I want to start by breaking him up into folders, and we're going to do some folder stuff because you can do live Boolean stuff based on folders. So we're gonna. Yep, you like my cassette shirt? I need to draw like a band on here, like Depeche Mode, and have it all like smeared and or something like that. Van Halen. Anyway. All right. Yes, we are here and we are going. We're rocking. Okay. So, and I don't have live Booleans turned on. That's why it's in this weird kind of state. So what I want to do is take a moment to organize my file. I don't talk about file organization enough in the course. So I really want to talk to you guys about it. I actually want to do a lesson that's like almost lesson number 1 to talk about where you need to end up versus where you start. So at the very, very end, where you should be is you should have a whole bunch of subtools with subdivision levels on them. Not dynamic subdivision levels, but actual subdivision levels. And with colors and details and all that kind of stuff. And then you should have low resolution meshes that kind of cover multiple subtools at once. And it's kind of hard to break down what determines how many subtools you can bake to one single subtool or one single low resolution mesh, unless you actually like have some what am I trying to say? Unless you actually have some time spent with learning it. What's that word? Experience. Hello, experience. Unless you have some experience learning it, you won't know what to put where. Okay, so for example, with the Kate model that I made for the course, I have like everything that has to do with her head, like her eyelashes, her eyebrows, her eyes. Well, not her eyes. Her eyes are separate, but all of that stuff is in one like set, and I would put that into a folder. And you can put it into a folder with like the teeth and the tongue, and you can make a different folder for all the hair and all the hair pieces and the hair band and all that stuff. And you could bake all of that down to one head mesh. If you had sewn the hair into the head, you can bake all of that down into one. And one misconception that I think a lot of you have that is not necessary, but I did it anyway, is to import your low resolution mesh back into ZBrush. That's not necessary. You can bring that low resolution mesh directly from 3D Coat or wherever you made it, Maya, doesn't matter, right into Marmoset or wherever you're going to bake your maps. You can bring that right in, or Substance. You could just bring it right in. You don't have to diverge and go through ZBrush to get to Marmoset or Substance. You can bring it right in. So the only reason I brought my low resolution meshes into ZBrush is so I can organize them, name them properly, and then export everything out as an FBX and bring it all over into Marmoset at one time. So you can bake, you don't have to do that. You don't have to bake everything at once. You can bake things in sets. You don't need to do everything at once. Sometimes it's just too slow. The character's too big to bake everything at once. So you can bake it in sets and then put it all together inside of Photoshop or Substance or wherever you're doing your final texture work in. So anyway, I'm probably missing stuff as far as comments. Kill Creations, this is a GH4, a Panasonic GH4. So let's see. Hey JP, how's it going? Welcome all new students. There's a lot of new students. I just barely started a new marketing campaign. And all of you students that are already here, if you want, you can go check out that brand new video that I made. It's just on the front page. If you go to, let's see, I'll just show you, 3D Character Workshop. So if you just go to this front page, this is my new front page for now. It's like, grab the brushes, but before you go, grab the brushes. So, hey, what's up, Jose? So here's the brushes, and that's kind of front and center because whenever I do live streams on Pixelogic, I like to tell people to go get my brushes, and here they are. And that eventually leads to the same presentation as this right here. So if you want to find out more about the workshop, just click here, and you'll be taken to this registration page. And you can fill this out, even though you're already on, you're obviously on my emailing list, but you can click here and just fill out the information and watch. I think the presentation's like 23 minutes long right now. So anyway, that's kind of new, and there's a lot of brand new students, so welcome. Yeah, I can't wait to see what everybody makes, and welcome to the first live stream if this is your first time. So. Yes, Jose, I want to talk about retopologizing this guy in Maya instead of 3D Coat, just so you guys have some other options, okay? I also want to talk about texturing him in both Photoshop and Substance when we get there. So we still have a ways to go, but when we get there, I'd like to talk about it. So, okay, so let's organize this guy into folders, all right? And we have the older ruler, and if you guys haven't, I suggest you download ZBrush 2019 because it has some great new features like folders and the ZRemesher 3.0. Those are the two things that affect us as the 3D Character Workshop group. The other thing that affects us, if you want to experiment with them, are the filters, and we talked about the filters in the last Q&A session. So, okay, let's see. So, what we can do is let's start with these bracers. These bracers have a lot of different pieces and parts, okay? And I haven't really gone through and named them at all, but what you can do is you can select a subtool, and after you select it, all you have to do is hit Control F, and that will make a brand new folder, and we're gonna call these bracers. So there's a bracers folder now, if you guys can see that. Do you know how to watch past episodes for the live stream on here and where to click? You're a bit of a novice on YouTube. Yes, Jeremy, let me show you really quickly. We'll do a little diverge here. Okay, if you go to the community, if you just log into the community from the stream, on the right-hand side, you'll see these two videos, right? So we have this student-only live stream right here and the Q&A sessions right here. So you can click on this video, and as soon as it starts, you can click on YouTube, and it'll pop you to this page. And then down here, oh, where'd it go? It should be, this is showing the live chat, but down here it should be showing you the playlist. I'll make sure I have the playlist available. But this is in a playlist. I'm working on making that playlist so you can just go there and check it out. There's another way to get there inside the course. Let me log in. Hold on a second. Because I know that's an easier way to go. If you go click on your name here and you go to My Library, No worries. It's okay, Jeremy. I want people to know. So right up here, student live streams, if you click on that, there are these two as well. This is probably the best place to watch it, okay? Because in the top left corner, you'll see it says 1 out of 18. That's the playlist. And on this one, you see 1 out of 8. So if you click on this playlist, you can see them all, starting with episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're doing 9 right now. So that's how you watch past episodes of everything. Okay? All right. Thanks, Flasha Nation. Anyway, that's a good place to go to watch all that stuff. Okay. Back to this. So now I've made a folder called Bracers, and instead of using these crazy funky up and down arrows down here, like select up or move up and all this kind of stuff, now all you need to do is click and drag. It's super duper simple, okay? So you can just go here, click, and you can see as I drag, can you guys see that? There's this little blue arrow and with a line underneath it. And the blue arrow is pointing where you're going to drop it. So I'm going to drop this below the one I have currently selected or above it, okay? So if I let go of this, now you can see it starts to draw this little hierarchy line. See this little hierarchy line underneath the folder? And now we have a subtool count of 2. So I've put the 2 bracers inside there, and now I've added a third. There's 3. And let me see what this one is. That's part of the boot. So let's make another one. After you have this folder populated, you can click it and it will collapse it down. And then you can go to the next one, and we're going to hit Control F and call this one Boots. Okay, and then we can go, let's see, I think this is the straps and the boots themselves. And see how easy this is to just drag stuff right in there? And these are the spurs, and I think these are the heels. Okay, then we can just collapse that. Now that we have everything in the folder, what we can do is we can hide it. So we can just turn it off. It looks like I missed the soles. Okay, I'm going to move this down here. And I'm going to pop this folder back open. And you can also drag stuff into the folder with it being closed, with it being collapsed, which is really nice. Okay, so now I just drag the 2 soles into that boot. So now, see, I can hide the entire boot. It looks like I grabbed these straps and put them in the boots. So let me pull those back out. I think, is that these? Yeah, that's these right here. So I'm going to drag these out of that folder because I don't want them in there because they're not part of the boots. Okay, so now I can just, now there's 7 subtools in there that make up the boots. So now I can just hide those boots and I know that they're just there. And what's really cool about that is now I can move the boots around without going into the T-pose mesh or anything like that or any weirdness. So it's super cool. Okay. Hero, most likely I will. Yeah, I'll do some NPR filters with this guy later, but that's like way down the line. So we'll see when we get to that point. But yeah, I love those NPR filters. I've been posting a new image every day on my personal Facebook account of, you know, old characters but with a new look. So let's do a new folder called Legs. Control F, Legs. Okay, now we have these straps. I think that's the only 2 things that I want to have in the legs. Maybe I can make this skirt and the undercut. No, I think I'll leave that as part of the torso armor. Yeah, dude, look, folders are amazing. Great stuff. See, bracers, boots, legs. So torso, let's do torso. Let's hide these legs. I'm going to hide the bracers as well. And now we have, now with the torso, we're getting to the point where we can chop this torso up if we want to. We don't have to keep it the whole thing around the whole time. We can start slicing it up because honestly, the only thing that we need this torso for is if we're going to ever see it underneath any of the clothes, okay? And I also want to iterate that you don't need to block out a nude body if you have really baggy, thick clothes. The only time you need to actually block out the full nude body is if you're going to use it to make the armor from. And I did not mention this in the workshop, but say if your character is Aladdin and he's got these big baggy pants, you don't need to go and make his really, you know, his nude body with the nude legs and all that kind of stuff just to make this huge puffy legs, pants around those legs. You can start with the puffy legs. You don't have to start with the nude body. So another thing to be thinking about too is you don't need to go in there and block out all of the muscles or any of that stuff as well. The whole goal of blocking out a character is only have as many pieces as you need to put in there to get the job done, to get you to the next step. You don't need to go overboard. You don't need to go crazy. I know it's fun, and it's really fun to put in all those parts. And I did show some of that because I wanted to show you an example of how far you can take it. A lot of the times when I'm doing, like with Kate, her suit is so tight that you see some of those muscles and like her scapula and stuff like that through her suit. So that's the reason I use that stuff to block it in. But if you're not going to see it, there's no reason to put it in there unless it's going to help you with like with measuring and things like that. You know, if you're like, I don't understand how the proportions of this character is working, so I need to block in some of these extras to kind of give me an idea of how far away these things should be. Okay, so anyway, we talked about that in the first few episodes when we were blocking this guy out, but I wanted to mention it again because I see some students are still putting a whole ton of stuff in there when it just doesn't, it's not necessary. So, all right, Sophie. Okay, have a good one. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Glenn, right? It's brand new. It's like, hey, look what we made. Folders that everybody else has had for a long time. Okay. So these are going to be the pauldrons. Or isn't that what you call those? Pauldrons? Or like the shoulder armor? I can't remember. I think they're called pauldrons. We're going to call them pauldrons. Pauldrons. Or I can't remember if bracers are also called I can't remember. I'm a huge nerd, but I'm not that huge of a nerd. Wait, yes I am. Okay. So the chainmail, the torso, I'm going to have the torso and the chainmail and the head. See, that's why I'm thinking about shoulder hats. You're right, Allison, shoulder hats. I should have named them shoulder hats. You know, I made a client of mine just laugh hysterically one time because of the naming convention that I was using. I called the character's teeth. I called him Teeth because he was like a hick guy. So it's like T-E-E-F because his teeth were all over the place. So yeah, you can have some fun with naming. Let's see. Let's get this out of the way first, this torso. Okay, let's see. Let's put this in a folder and call it torso armor. Okay, torso armor, and then this will go with it. This. Whoa, I went way too far down here. Let's see. Okay, that's part of it, and that's the bottom of it. And these are the parts that are cut out of it. Okay, and then it goes to the skirt. I'm not going to put the skirt or the eyeballs or the head in a folder. So, okay, I'm going to turn on Live Boolean now and just kind of see what that should... we're not done with the shoulder hats, but let me see the... Let's hide those. So this is what he looks like right now with all of that in folders. So let's, I do want to organize this. So now we can move this. It's crazy because I'm so tempted to click on that up arrow to get it to go up there. Like normally I would click on this and then go up, 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 up. What a mess. Okay, so I have to get used to clicking and dragging like every other program on the planet. All right, it's a good thing this isn't Pixelogic's live stream, because I'd be like, hey, stop it. Okay, so there's the head, there's the eyes. I think I am going to put the head and eyes in a folder. Let's just call it head. Even though the reason I was hesitating is because the chainmail is outside of the folder, because it goes all the way through and comes out his sleeves, so it's not necessarily his head. Just like the torso isn't that either. But I can click on this and hit rename and just call this torso, even though it includes the hands. I do want to call this skirt. I'm not going to lie. Let's call it skirt. Let's call it what it is, guys. Chainmail. Okay. So now we have our file much more organized, even though I didn't go inside each of these folders and name every single little bit. I would if, towards the end, I definitely would rename all those, because essentially it depends on where. Let me see if I can save this and pull in Kate. Let's see. Because I really want to show you guys what I'm talking about. Let's see. I have too many things in here. Decimated. Pose 12. Neutral pose. I think it's this one. Because it should have all the lows and highs and everything. Yep, it does. Okay, so this one from the workshop, okay? This, I'm showing all of the lows right here. And you can see, and I didn't talk about the naming convention enough, so I just want to kind of hit you over the head with it again. Okay, so when you're going to bake your maps inside of Marmoset, you want to make sure that it says what it is, then what level it is of high or low, and then what group it belongs to. So, sorry, it's reverse. The group is first, then the density, and then the name of the object, okay? So, for example, these four items are in the hair group, okay? And then they are all high density, okay, so they're all the highs. And then this is the back, this is the base, the bangs, the headband, and then it all gets baked down to this hair underscore low, okay? So now that I have folders, what I would do with this is I'd click on the top one, hit Control F, call this hair because it's the hair group, and then push all of these pieces into here, okay? And then what we have is I could even rename this to be hair high, okay? So I think I can click on here and say rename right here, rename folder, hair underscore high. Okay, now when I close this, this will be a very, very nice way to organize, okay? All of these high resolution pieces have subdivision levels on them. So that's what where you want to be at the very, very end. So now we have head high. I can grab this one, hit Control F, call this head underscore high. And then we put all the parts that belong to that in here. Okay, and then it stops at tongue because there's a tongue high and a tongue low. Anyway, I can close this. And so you can start to see it would be folder of high and then one low. So it's, and then if I wanted to, I could put all of the lows into a folder, because then I could turn on and off all of the low resolution objects at the same time as far as visibility, and that works out really well. The folders, they're only a way of organizing your file. That's it. They're not going to mess with your hierarchy or anything like that. It's not like Maya where you have children that are nested underneath parents and stuff like that that kind of messes up your translations. It's not like that. It's just a folder system to help you organize everything. So, all right. You guys kind of on board with me there? Anyway, you can kind of see how I have this separated. So tongue high, tongue low, upper lashes high, upper lashes low, lower, lower, all that kind of stuff. Allison, I wish you could. I really wish you could nest folders, but at this time you cannot. I think that's next to where is the UV unwrapper you guys promised? That's like #1 question. And then #2 question is, can you do nested folders? And the answer to both of those questions is no. There's no UV unwrapper yet, and there's no nested folders. So they're still working on that UV unwrapper, and they really want to have nested folders. They're just not there yet. So anyway, hey, what's up, Angelo? Okay, so there's the teeth, and you can see. So again, see all of the body parts. So I'm going to click on this one. Just one more demonstration. I'm going to call this body underscore high. Okay, we have this body high, and now we can just drag every piece into this folder that starts with body. Body, body, body. There's a lot of them. Then it goes to belt. So now we're done. Okay, so then we just close this. Looks like I put the low resolution body in there. I'm going to pull that one back out. Okay, so now if I close this folder, all of the high resolution parts of the body are in this folder, and the low is here. So let me hide everything in the scene. Okay, and we're just going to show everything inside here. Okay, and then show the low. So now these are all the parts that are going to bake to the low resolution body. Okay, so we have this low resolution mesh. It looks like this. And I can hide all the highs at the same time, which is fantastic. So there's all the high and there's the low. Really, really easy to organize your files now. Very easy. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that. Let's go back to sirloin. So UV Master, yeah, but they're doing a brand new one called, oh, I can't remember what it's called. UV something or other. Anyway, it's an actual real UV unwrapper like the one in Maya. It works. It's supposed to work a lot better. It has a lot of the functionality that you're used to inside of other programs. I can't remember the name of it. UV something. Anyway, it's not the UV unwrapper. That's been in there for a long time. And that's barely usable in some like temporary circumstances. You can use it, but most of the time I'll do all of my retopologization and UV map unwrapping outside of ZBrush, not in ZBrush. So UV peeler, thanks Allison. Yeah, UV peeler. That's it. Okay. Okay, so let's I wanted to, let's see. Let's go back to our shoulder hats. Now you got me saying shoulder hats. Okay. I think I can isolate. Let me see. Hide polypaint. Nope, that's just, it works the same way with, okay, that's interesting. Look at the ruler popping through his neck. That's hilarious. Okay, so that's interesting. I'm learning stuff about folders as I use them, but typically if you hold down Shift and you click on this eyeball, it either shows everything or hides everything. It looks like that works with folders only. See how it's showing and hiding just the folders. And everything else is being like hidden and shown regardless. So that's kind of interesting. So it looks like that would be an argument for having everything in folders and not having, it's like, because I have 3 pieces, well 4 if you count the ruler, 4 pieces that are not inside of, Sir Ruler, they're not inside of folders, so now I can't hide and show everything or isolate everything. So I would probably want to put these 3 things in folders somewhere, somehow. Okay, so anyway, I'll do that later. But right now I'm going to turn these off, and I just want to turn on the hats, because we're still working on these from last time. Okay, so this is where we were. We started to put a ring, like we made them look like Saturn, and now I want to duplicate that ring and kind of set it up. You got yourself so confused today? Abram, I do not use Z Startup Master, and the reason why is because all of the settings you can save inside of a project. There's no reason to use a Startup Master. Like every single time I start a ZBrush session, I will open up ZBrush and then I will load my ruler file, and that ruler file is a project, and that project holds every single one of my settings, even beyond what the Z Startup Master thing will give you. So, for example, when I made the new ruler file, the new project file, inside this menu, I set the OBJ shadow to 0.1. It defaults to 0.3. I set it to 0.1, I saved the project, and that saved. It's saved in the project. There's a lot of little tweaks like that that I've gone through and I've done inside of the project file because I'm tired of like changing settings every single time. So there's a lot of those settings that the project will save. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question. Okay. So I want to duplicate this object. And hold down Control, drag it, turn it, and this is going to make the second part of this piece that's coming up on the shoulder. Okay. I want to kind of, I'm going to scale the sides in. I'll just use the move brush and just kind of move those in to match, to hit that. Lord Humongous, yeah, I talk about that in Module 1, Lesson 1. I go over that. I always save a Z tool. Whenever I'm working, I always save a Z tool. I don't say never. I shouldn't say never. I hardly ever save projects. And the reason why is because projects save every single tool that you have loaded in here, and it saves it so your files can just get gigantic. They can be gigs and gigs and gigs of data. And they just get too big. And a Z tool will carry everything that you want, except it will not store history. It will not store your history or your image right here, this preview or reference image. It won't save that either. So I don't think a project will save that either, actually. But yeah, so I always save a Z tool. They save clean. They save a single tool. Yeah, I only save a project for my startup project. My ruler file is the only thing that's a project that I ever use. I always load my Z tools into it. Okay, now on this thing, you guys can see how it's not following the contour of this curve right here. See, the curve's kind of going around and then it goes kink like that. So I want that curvature to continue around. So what I'm going to do, ZTLs don't save render settings? Oh yeah, probably. So I would save, if you have favorite render settings, I would save that out as a render project that you then load all of your ZTLs into. Does that make sense? It's like a saved state of ZBrush. So if you find like a bunch of render settings, I would save them in like a project meant for rendering, if that makes sense. That's like the perfect reason to save a project. Okay, so I want to do polygroups by normals, and what that's going to give me is it's going to give me a polygroup anywhere past 45 degrees. See that? So the edge is a color, the interior is a color, the exterior is a color. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to shrink that center down. Andreas, they can be. So renders in ZBrush they can work. Filters, you can use the new filters, the new NPR filters are a lot of fun, and that you can only do that inside of ZBrush. I actually have, if you go inside the course and you go inside your extra training area, here, let me just show you. So if you go in the library right here, click on your name, the library, and see this additional training and resources. It used to be called bonuses. If you go in here, then if you scroll down, you will see additional tutorials created by students and others. And then this very first one is a really nice one about rendering inside of ZBrush. I believe Scott made one. Yep, rendering clean polypaint and Keyshot. There's a whole bunch of, oh, that's in Keyshot. There's a whole bunch of tutorials in here that are in addition to what the training that I've given you. And some of those are rendering inside of ZBrush. So you should check those out. Okay. Yeah, Keyshot's just easier. But in Marmoset's easy. You can render. It doesn't matter where you render. You know, you can render in Arnold or it doesn't matter. Okay, just whatever you have access to. Cycles, Blender, Cycles, free. Okay, I'm going to hit Mirror and Weld to make the poly groups be the same across the symmetry. Then I want to hide this sphere and this disk here so I can get to the center. Because, see this purple? I essentially want to get and isolate mask the center of this purple. So if I hold down Control and tap on the center right here, yeah, no worries, Andreas. Yeah, go check those out. They're really cool. Okay, I need to turn on local symmetry so it's not scaling towards the center. But I just want to scale the center in. So can you move or affect only one side of a polygroup at a time with affecting other polygroups around it? So the way I would do it is just how I showed. You have to use masking. If you want to if you're wanting to mask one part of something and not the other. Another way you can do that too is, see this mask by polygroup down here? You can grab that and crank it up to 100 if it'll stay. Then basically when you use a move brush, and this works across all brushes. So as soon as you turn up mask by polygroup, that is a global setting. It's not a per brush setting like backface masking or topological is. It's a global. So it's either on or it's off for every single brush. Okay. But whatever polygroup you grab first, it's going to, like this one. Well, since I grabbed the corner, it's not going to affect it, but it will only affect the polygroup that you grab first. So for example, let me unhide this. Okay, it's kind of like topological, but it's based on polygroup masking. So see this green sphere? I can grab that and it's not going to move anything else. Okay, so if I turn this down to 0 and I grab it, it's going to move everything. It's going to grab it all. Okay, so that's just another that's another way of using polygroups without having to go in and mask every single thing. It's just, I don't know if that's kind of the answer you were looking for, but that's something that you can try. Okay. Yeah, just whenever you're going to move parts of your object, use polygroups to your advantage. Polygroups are like temporary selection sets. If you ever use selection sets in like 3D Studio Max, or like, I'm trying to remember what it's called in Maya, but they're just like temporary selections. That is essentially what a polygroup is. That's why there's these colors. It's like, well, I just want to affect this edge, so I'm going to color it blue, so then I can just affect that edge. But if you're wanting to affect one side of the color or the other, that's when masking comes into play. Okay, so I do want to turn on topological, because topological is just, it's based more on what you grab first rather than like what polygroup it is. So, okay, now I want to turn on live Boolean. It is on. Okay, now, because you can do live Boolean per folder now. So it's per folder. I don't know why they should do away with those start arrows, those silly start arrows that I was showing you last time. You no longer need those, I believe. Okay, we'll see. But because everything happens within the folder. So now what I can do is I want to draw a cube on here and slice it. And I also want to duplicate this sphere and make that be the negative and cut out of the center of this thing. So while we have this sphere here, I'm going to isolate, mask it. All you have to do is hold down Control and tap on the object to isolate it. And then I want to just scale it down. Well, I need to duplicate it. Actually, I don't want to move it in space. Usually when you duplicate an object, you have to use transform to duplicate it. Like if I hold down Control and grab this, that's how you duplicate it. But I want it to remain in the same spot that it is right now. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the subtool and delete everything else that's not that sphere, if that makes sense. Okay, so I have this. So you just kind of have to think, like, work smarter, not harder kind of thing. So duplicate this, and now I can just isolate, hide this, and then just hit delete hidden. And now I have a duplicated sphere in its own subtool that I can now turn on subtract. So I can turn on this subtract, and then I can scale it down like this, and then move it a little bit so it starts to, let's see, I want to scale it from the center, not from the side. Okay. So this is going to be tricky. I might need 2 spheres, one for each side, but I don't know. I might just have to, like, it doesn't matter too much if those shoulder hats, I keep calling them shoulder hats, if they're hollow or not, or how perfect they are. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to force it and just grab a move brush and just move it around until it works. Most of the time I'll do that more often than not. So you can see how it's just starting to cut into this. Let's see. I want to grab this edge. And it's really weird working with live booleans because it's like working with something that's invisible. Okay, see that? I'm just trying to work it. Work it. So I really like this edge now. This bottom edge is working, but this edge is not. So let's start to move this. And you can always turn on wireframe to see the actual object like this and see what it's doing and how it's working. So I'm just going to pull this over here and just start to, it's kind of just subtracts it. Oh, come on. Keep grabbing all the way through it. I don't need topological turned on. There we go. Okay. And I probably need to go a little smaller. I don't know. But okay. Now it's like going thick to thin around this level, but that's okay. We'll just deal with that. Now what I can do is make some cubes, and the cubes can act as slicers too, that can slice off these extra bits, right? So from this side, let's grab a cube. We'll just draw it on right here. Oh, it's on the subtraction, so I'm going to click on this one so I can actually see it. Drag it. And it will draw on whatever surface you hit first. So you can see how it's angled to the normal of this object, because I want it to clip off right there. Okay, but now I need to split it off this subtool because I need to make it a subtool that's also going to subtract. So I want to hit the split unmask points. Now it's in its own subtool right here, and I want it to subtract. Okay, so let's grab this. Now we can see it in its invisible state. It's like, and then we can scale it this way, and now it's slicing. It's doing what we want it to do. See, it's doing that nice slice. So now if I turn it off, you can see it's slicing just like that. So now I want to duplicate it. Hold down Control, duplicate it, and then rotate it because I want it to slice off the bottom too. Right? Slice just like that. Looks like we have a little hole over here. We need to adjust our sphere. Okay. So now if I undo that, you can kind of see and clear the mask. So it's looking like the little hat, right? But there's some things we still have to do to it. Specifically, we need to rework this front edge to actually be pointy like this. And you can see it kind of has this little edge down here. So we could probably put a crease on there and get that little edge, a little lip. So let's grab these spheres, this sphere, and push it in so it's not making a cut right there. Okay, now we can go back to here and just work on the creasing of this and the shape of it. So let's grab our Z modeler and hover over an edge, hit spacebar, and you can go to crease right here and then hit edge loop complete, and then hold down Alt because I want to uncrease that edge. And then if I can hit it, there we go. And that uncreases that edge all the way around. But it looks like there's not enough geometry to kind of hold that. So we're going to have to work it a little more. I'm going to solo this for a moment because I want to hide everything except for this piece, and just start to move it up in space. And it's hard to see because this one's in the way, but that's okay. And just raise this up. I actually want this piece too. There we go. So it gets thicker as it drops down towards the pauldron thing. So looks like I'm just trying to figure out the shape of that thing. So I'm going to isolate mask this front. Then I can bring the gizmo all the way to the bottom because it kind of goes from thick to thin as it goes down. So I want to drag this out like this. Maybe not that much. And then hand pull out these pieces here in the center, just to kind of give it a better fall off as it comes down. And some of this stuff is just trial and error, just hoping it's going to work. Okay, now let's unhide everything. See how that's starting to make it look like that? And I want to put a crease down the center, but not all the way. So let me undo that so it's still isolated. And I want to just crease this edge and this edge just to try it out. So but right now it's going to crease edge loop all the way around, and I don't want to crease on the bottom. I only want it on the top up here. So, well, it doesn't really matter because it's going to get chopped off. So I guess I could just crease the whole thing. Let's just try it. Okay. Now, anytime there's a pull inside of an object, most likely it's going to cause you some grief, right? It's going to, like, you can see this pull right here, right there, that guy right there. It's starting to make the shape of this object weird. So let me unhide this. It's because it's a quad that's trying to act like a triangle. So let me show you. See this right here? See this quad? Right here. That guy? It's trying to be a triangle. So whenever you subdivide a quad that's trying to be a triangle, it's going to make it misshapen. It's not going to be what you want. So you're just going to have to kind of turn on dynamic sub Ds and just kind of work it until it is the shape you want. Sometimes you just have to push it in a little further than you would think it needed to be, if that makes sense. But sometimes you'll just need to ZRemesh it, you know, and like make a new, and make the remesh go around that edge to be better. So, you know what? I think I might try that. Let's try it. Never be afraid to experiment. Okay, so let's isolate this. Okay, so I want these to be in their own separate subtool. Let's split hidden. Okay, so now these are separate from the spheres. Let's unsolo that. So they're there, but they're not being subtracted, which is fine. Okay, now what we can do is I'm going to duplicate these. Hey, what's up, Donna? Well, I have daylight saving times going on since last week. So I think I'm going an hour early than normal. But okay, I'm going to duplicate these because I'm going to try and rebuild the geometry, and I want to be able to go back if it doesn't work. Right? So what I want to do, and one of the students were asking me earlier today, like, when I ZRemesh, why is it crappy? Essentially, like, why is it polygonal when I ZRemesh it? And if you ever run into that problem, all you need to do is here, let me turn live boolean off. All you need to do is subdivide before you ZRemesh. It'll give you a cleaner surface to ZRemesh. So I'm going to hide all of these parts. Just leave this one. Okay, so you can see how polygonal and crappy this is, right? So I'm just going to tune this a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to subdivide it once. So Control D once. That's closer to the shape that I want. And then ZRemesher, I don't think it works if you have subdivision levels, but I'm going to try it anyway. Okay, let me go to poly count 2 and hit ZRemesher. Except for I forgot to hit keep groups. I want keep groups on. Not bad. That's interesting. It's giving me a weird, whatever that is, on this side. That's weird. Okay. You just kind of, sometimes you just need to pull it out in space and see. Let's just hit ZRemesher again and see if it still gives me that weird. Okay, it's a little better. But since I hit keep groups, it's almost like hitting crease mesh. So let me try one more thing. I'm going to put the blue and the pink in the same group and see what that gives us. Not good. Okay, it's not good. Let me delete lower, subdivide that once. I want to smooth this down. Whoops, too much. I'm just trying to get it closer to the shape that I want before I ZRemesh it. Oh, Guy, you've been having better luck with the alternate ZRemesher? It's not a bad idea, actually. Let me try this again. That's not bad. Then what we can do is we can hit half and hit it again, and it'll just give us less, but now it's getting rid of this point. I want to keep that point. So this is actually cleaner. I'm liking what it's giving me without ZRemeshing, so I might just keep that. But I don't like how it's wrapping around there. Let me see. It's this bottom half is going to get cut off anyway, so I don't really care. I don't care. So let's get rid of this. Boom, boom, boom. Turn live boolean back on. Turn this off. And subdivide this, that, and that. Okay. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay. Now, whenever you get to something like this, this is kind of like a long way of making temporary geometry, right? Because now what you would really want to do is retopologize this to get the cleanest mesh you possibly can, okay? And that's probably what I should use, or what I should do, is just draw new topology on top of this. Because that way I'm going to get my connections, I'm going to get my creases, I'm going to get everything that I want, but it's going to be tricky to do it, for sure. Because there's a lot of interesting little intricate things going on. Do you guys want to see me do the retopology on this? To kind of, if you ever get into this bind and you're like, what do I do? Looks like butt. I was just wondering if you want to see what I do, how I do it. So if I wanted to keep this and I want to make a new mesh out of it to then take outside of here somewhere else and do the retopology, what you can do with these folders now, I'm going to save this first. Okay, save. Student only. Okay, block out 11. I'm going to name it 12. Do it. Okay, you guys want to see it? All right, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to go to this gear, and then I'm going to say Boolean with subdiv. Okay, because I have subdivs turned on every single level of this thing. So I'm going to hit Boolean with subdiv, and what that's going to do is it should make a new tool. Did it not? Maybe it makes a new subtool. Makes a new subtool. Oh, here we go. Check it out. So instead of making a new tool and putting it up there, it actually makes a new subtool and appends it to the bottom. That's interesting. So let's see how good of a job it did. Okay, so see it kind of did all this. It did all this. Okay. Can you use transpose master with layers so that you can have several poses, or is it best to just save each pose as its own tool? I've seen it done with facial expressions, but not full poses. Abram, you can do it that way, but I advise 110% against it. And the reason why is because layers are not your friend. Layers inside of ZBrush, that's probably the most finicky, tool that ZBrush has, is layers. It's really hard to deal with them. And what I use layers for typically is, yes, you can do it with facial expressions, but I typically will use layers for surface textures. Like, for example, this yellow stuff on top of the green torso, the yellow that's been extruded off the surface, I can put that inside of a layer. And the reason why I would want to do that is because it's kind of another a non-destructive workflow. You can put it in a layer and then you can erase it. You can increase the intensity of it. You can actually do an inverse of it. You can duplicate that layer to double it. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with layers as far as that is concerned. Surface topology or surface detailing is what I use layers for. And the reason why is then you can turn off those surface details. Like say, I was just talking to another student, Jake. We were talking about Spider-Man's webbing. What's cool about that is you can actually turn off the layer and move the surface a little bit underneath and not affect the cuts that you have in the surface, and then turn that layer back on. And then you can, it's like non-destructive. So I would spend the time to, I would save off a new Z tool every pose. So I would do one pose in one Z tool, another pose in another one, and so on and so forth. That's the way I've always done it, and that's the way I recommend doing it, just because layers are so finicky, so finicky. Okay, so let's export this. Now to export this as an OBJ, you want to turn off a group right here. So turn this off, and then do, hey, what's up, Lee? And then do export as an OBJ. I usually export as an OBJ if I'm ever going to retop like one item. OBJ is just much cleaner than FBX. FBX I like because it's like scooping up and gathering everything and let's export it all together. But sometimes you'll run into errors, and it's not always the cleanest way. It's just the fastest and the fastest way to get stuff over there. But the cleanest way is with OBJ. But you can only export one OBJ at a time, or a whole bunch of OBJs, and it just makes a whole bunch of different files, where FBX just makes one file and it keeps everything inside of it. So, okay, so let me make a new folder in here. I always name my folders ZTLs and OBJs and FBX OBJs. You can name them whatever you want, but let's call these, I'm gonna call it shoulder hat. Why not? Shoulder hats. Okay. All right, and then I haven't cracked open 3D Coat for a while. Maybe I can do it in Maya. Do you want me to see? I only have the student version of Maya right now, but I can do it in there, I think. Let's try it. Otherwise, I'll just do it in 3D Coat. But let's see. It's trying to open. Dun, dun, dun. Slowly. Hey, what's up, Corinne? How you doing? Sorry, Maya's taking a while to load. Then I'll bring it down here. It's on my other screen. Okay. Is that where you guys want me to retopologize? Is over in Maya? You want to see that? I don't, Steven, I wish I knew it well enough. Come on, Maya. It's Maya, it's the slowest program to load I've ever seen. Come on. It's trying. I would love it. Steven, you got to show me how to do it in Blender. I would love to learn. Oh, you're retopping in Maya right now? Awesome. Okay, so here's Maya. Let's see. File, import. Let's go grab that puppy. Student only live stream. OBJs, there it is. Shoulder hats. There they are. Okay, so one thing I want to show you guys is when you're going back and forth between ZBrush and Maya, that ruler file is meant to go back and forth. It's set up this way. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to go to Windows and then go to Settings and Preferences, and switch this. If you go to Settings, switch this to meters right here. Boom. Okay, now it's set up to be the right. So if we go back to ZBrush, I bet the center of the world is right. Yep, see how it's right here? It's perfect. So you can see how, you can trade back and forth between Maya and ZBrush with OBJ. Oh, you can do it wherever you want. Yep, you can totally use it. You can use 3D Studio Max. You can use Blender. It doesn't matter. I was just going to show you another alternative to 3D Coat because I teach 3D Coat in the workshop. So, I thought I would... This student-only live stream is all about, let's look at alternative methods, okay? So let's just get in here and I'm trying to remember. There's quad draw, and you have to make this live surface. There we go. Hold on a second. Sorry, it's been a while. Trying to remember where live surface is. Jason, you might have to help me out. It's been a long time. Where is it under? Yeah, Moto's great too. Moto has some really nice retopologizing tools. Come on, mesh display. You'd think it's under mesh display. Where is it? It's been too dang long. I thought there was a button for it out here. Combine. Oh, the last magnet? Oh, this guy right here. Make the selected object live. Thanks, Jace. Okay, thanks you guys. Yep. You guys are like, push it. Okay. And then you can use this. I haven't done it since I made Zenyatta. But you essentially turn this quad draw on. And then you can just click these dots. And then hold down shift and then tap and you'll make a face. So and I already have mirroring turned on, so it automatically just starts going, right? Yeah. Thanks, guys. All right, it's a 20-second delay, so just like you got, I have to ask a question, and then 20 seconds later, I get you guys' answer. So thanks so much. But now, typically, what I have to do is I have to think about the poles on these spheres, right? And how they're gonna end. So what I'll do is I'll do like a pole here, because I have to think about it like a subdivided box, right? So if you think about a box, I know I can do it here, but I'm just going to show you over in ZBrush for a second. Okay, so if I just went over here, so this is essentially a subdivided box, and you can see the poles. See, there's a pole right here, and there's a pole right here. But if I were to go to geometry and go to reconstruct subdivision surface, see, it'll go less and then less, and look, there's the pole right there. It's still there. And that pole, if I keep going, reconstruct subdiv, if it'll let me. Why won't it let me? Okay. Well, because it's not it doesn't go down to a cube. Okay, let me show you. Let me show you one more time with an actual cube. Let me draw it in space here. Delete higher. Oh man. Hold on a second. I need a pole to draw from. I need to reset my gizmo. There we go. There's a clean box. Okay, now I'm going to split it off. And I'm just going to show you. Okay, so if I subdivide this box, that's a long way to get to an explanation, sorry. Okay, so if I subdivide this box, I need to uncrease it, because if I leave the creases on and I hit Control D, it's going to look like a box still, so that's not going to work. So I have to do uncrease all, so now all the creases are gone. If I hit Control D, boom, there's what a subdivided box looks like, okay? Then if I delete lower, you can see that there's the pole right there. And there's the pole right there. If I hit Control D again, you can see there's the pole. Control D again. See, and this is what's called a polygonal sphere, a polysphere, right? All four of these up in here, these are polyspheres. There aren't any poles on them. And when it's cube in disguise. So when I'm actually retopologizing a sphere, I'm thinking about those poles, but I'm thinking about it kind of, since this is, kind of a weird shape, I'm thinking about it being rotated slightly, okay? And then I'll do the poles on there. So then I have to kind of think of the direction of where they're going to go from here. And just try and start putting in quads. So there's that one, and I'll just start and just kind of play with it until I might be quiet for a minute because I'm thinking. So what I like to do is outline it first, like around the bottom. You want to, if it's symmetrical like this, you kind of want to just work it out in your mind. Okay, those two. And what's cool about this... Oh, wait a minute. What did I do? I went out of quad draw mode. Okay, so this will actually connect. I'm just holding down shift to make these appear. But I can also grab these verts right here, these points, and just move them around on the surface. That's all topology is, Mark, is box modeling in reverse. That is literally it. Let me see. I'm trying to decide if I want to have, I think I want to have two here. And sometimes those poles will start to reveal themselves. Oh, Allison, really? You use the mouse still? Sometimes I will. Sometimes I will. I'm trying to remember, you guys, how do I just delete one of these? I'm trying to remember how. I think I have to go over to delete. Or is it under my space bar? I can't remember. Maybe you guys can help me out. Okay, so now you can just start pushing these around and just imagine the fill, what the fill is going to look like when it gets filled in. Like this. But I don't want it to be that high. Control Shift, thanks. Thanks, Jace. You can save me. Okay, so when you get into binds or something like this, okay, when you're looking at, you don't want to have your quads be that big, right? Oh, there it is. So Control Shift will delete, Shift will add. Awesome. So this is too big. You want to keep your polygons as square as possible. Okay, so I want to have another row in here like this because that's more square, and then I can redistribute these to be more square. Okay. Oh, dissolve vertices and use X to delete. Cool. I really do want to give it a try. Okay, so now when you get to this point, what do you do? Because there's going to be a triangle, there's weird, what do you do? Well, you just put an extra little guy right here, and there's your pole. Actually, I took that too far. Hold on a second. I have to think about this. I'm going to need an extra row in there somewhere. I'm going to need an extra row right here. Okay, so Control will add, it'll actually slice it like this. There we go. And now I'll redistribute these around. Okay. You just want to make sure it's the same on both sides is all, and then you can just kind of work it around. And what's cool too is you can hold Shift and it's like smooth inside of ZBrush. See how it just kind of relaxes everything and redistributes. How can I can't talk. Anyway, it redistributes the polys across the surface. Do we have some polygon count? No, Walter, this is just, I'm not doing a game topology. I'm not, it's just to rebuild the, it's to rebuild the underlying topology so it'll be a clean piece. Because this is going to still be my high resolution object over in ZBrush, but I can use this as my low resolution object. So what am I trying to say? It benefits you to keep the polygon counts good and even, because then you can possibly use this for your game resolution or film resolution. Yeah, that shift spread is really nice. Shift to smooth, it's really nice. So, and it just kind of comes down to moving points. Redistributes the verts, right. And it still sticks to the surface. It's amazing. It's really cool. So now what I can do is I can just go like around the border of this. and kind of add my little polygons around here. And this is going to be subdivided, so don't worry about it looking too polygonal at this point, because it'll get smoothed down. Yeah, you can totally build it sloppy. Can you do a ring select and connect to create an edge? You can. Like, you can do ring selects like this. See that? And it will... I'm just holding down Control. Yeah, Walter, you can totally make this into a base mesh. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and then also what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this single-sided with the intention of extruding later on. I don't have to go and build everything underneath. Again, think smarter, not harder. Work smarter, not harder. So I can build the outer shell and then just extrude it when I'm done. So I don't know if that's going to give me the exact result that I want, but it will save me some time in retopology. Okay, so this one here, I'm going to just spread it across here, but I'm going to want to add another loop down here to define that, because it's kind of round and going down into there. Yeah, something like this. See how much cleaner it is than like my ZRemeshed mess? Oh, excuse me. Jeez. Okay, so now imagine extruding this from here and just getting a thickness. But I want to cut a line through there to get that arc right here. And then when I bring it back over to ZBrush, I can crease these edges and get just a beautiful edge when I bring it back. With something like that piece, do you worry about having perfect symmetry or just approximate, eyeball it? I will usually eyeball it. It's not like, unless you need precision, you don't really need to care that much about it. Also, you can mirror it later to get what you want, but typically I'll eyeball it. You can also select all these edges and do a scale on X to get them all aligned, but I don't really spend the time to do that because it's not really necessary. Okay, but see, so it's debatable as far as what's better to retopologize in, whether it's 3D Coat, whether it's Max, whether it's Blender. It doesn't really matter. It's a tool. It's just a tool. And it's just what's going to get you there the fastest without hating doing it. Because retopology, a lot of people just hate it, but I kind of find it like relaxing in a way. You know, it's kind of like, you know what? I get to just kind of turn my brain off a little bit and just kind of draw quads on my model, you know? You can crease the edge in Maya and export it to ZBrush with GoZ. Ariel, you can. OBJ will also recognize crease information as well. I don't like GoZ, and I'm glad we're not on the Pixelogic live stream because I am not a fan of GoZ because it messes up your scale between the two things, and it will add a whole bunch of different like material nodes and all sorts of different things, and it'll just dirty up your meshes. So that's why I like OBJ. That's why I like FBX, because going back and forth, OBJ is my favorite because it's clean. It keeps everything. It's just a mesh. It's an object, OBJ object. So it will keep polypane information. It will keep creasing information, but it will not add all the extra junk that GoZ will give you. So that's kind of why I do that. Okay, so let's go into, now we have our objects selected. And this is, we're all done retopologizing now. We can actually even select this. Let me turn off. Yeah, we have this selected and just say File, Export Selection, OBJ. Let's go back here. Student only live stream, OBJs, and call it shoulder hat retop. Okay, then go back into ZBrush. Grab not that, sirloin. Okay, we'll just go here. And anytime you import something into ZBrush as an OBJ, you have to have some temporary geometry sitting there to import into. Okay, so let's go to these shoulders here. I'm going to append a star. That's usually what I do, is I'll append a star. Make sure you select that star. Okay, we have the star here. And then we just go import right up here on the top right. And then do shoulder hat retop. Look at those beautiful shoulder hats. Oh, Thomas does it? Yeah, go Z. I like it and I'm glad they built it. It's just sometimes it doesn't work the best for what you're doing. So okay. So now what we can do is we can go to ZModeler. I'm going to turn on double so we can see the back side of this. And we're going to select ZModeler, and then we're going to go extrude polygroup all. And we're just going to add some thickness to this. About that thick, something like that. It looks like it kind of pushed in weird ways around the edges here, but that's okay, because we can just go in with our move brush and just tweak the points. Also, sometimes when you're working in symmetry like this, it's better to just delete one of them. So let's just delete this one. Okay, we'll get rid of it. So that way we can just be working on one side and then we'll just mirror it when we're done. Okay, so now we can just go in here and just straighten these up to look nicer. Whoops, I don't know what I hit there. I need to go in there and turn off that space bar. I never use that. I know a lot of people do and they like it, but I'm not a big fan of that. This menu when you hit the space bar, because sometimes it'll also come up when you hit other buttons, and I'm just like, stop it! Don't come up and bug me. Okay. So you'll notice that it has polygroup all the way around the outside in pink, and the interior is purple. So, which is good. So I'm just like pushing points, pushing a rock. I'm just trying to straighten this up and make it look decent before we subdivide it or do anything like that. Okay, I just kind of want this to wrap around. I'm looking for edge flow going from this point down to here. Looking at this edge flow. Looking at how this kind of wraps around. Let's look at the other side and make sure it's looking good. Let's pull this out a little more. I'm looking for this edge flow that's going all the way around here. And you won't see it perfectly. And then also, of course, these. They're all sorts of warbly. But you just kind of want to you won't really see what it's supposed to look like exactly until you subdivide it, crease it and subdivide it. That's when the beauty happens, okay? This kind of just looks like a chunky piece right now. But you can see still some of the parts. Let's get around this side. See how it's not straight? You just want to look for warbles and straighten them out. It's kind of the goal. All right, shoulder hats. Welcome to the shoulder hat store. Would you like this one with some plumage? Okay. So now what we want is we're gonna want to crease everything, and the best way that I found to do that is just use ZModeler and crease. You can do crease edge loop partial, and that means it will stop anywhere there is a pole. Okay, so we can just click on here. That's going to go all the way through, And we don't want that, but we do want it creased all the way through, well, most of the way. So we'll just go back through here and we'll uncrease the areas that we don't want. So I'm going to crease all of these around here and around here. Does non-planar geometry matter? Somewhat. Okay, so now that we have that, let's turn on our subdivisions and hide this. That looks pretty dang awesome. I didn't crease this piece though. So let's change it over to edge and crease this one and this one. There we go. Look at that beautiful thing. Boom. So I guess that was kind of a long way to get to the, because before I've modeled this guy before, and I've modeled those shoulder hat things before, those pauldrons. I've modeled them before, and before I just box modeled them. I just took a sphere and just modeled them out, you know. And I think that way took a lot longer than doing it this way. So yeah, it's up to you. This is just another technique, another way you can do it. But now that we have this and it's nice and clean, it's very, very easy to edit. I don't know what's happening right here. Maybe that's some non-manifold geometry. Let me crease this edge right here. That one. There we go. That fixed it. Pretty sharp though. Better sculpting topology? What are you talking about? So, Andreas, maybe I misunderstood, but why don't you use that retopo like low poly? Yeah, so essentially right now, is it worth doing it this way? That's up to you. That's completely up to you. Whether you are used to building things in Maya a certain way. Looks like I missed an edge right here. You know, there's a lot of people that would just say, I could build that so much faster in Blender, or I could build that so much faster with the traditional box modeling methods here or wherever. It doesn't, you know, it's up to you. It's honestly up to you where you want to build your stuff. It really doesn't matter, honestly. It's a matter of what you're most comfortable with, how you know, the goal is the goal. It's not, the journey is not the goal. The goal is, what does it look like when you get there, right? So this is one method, one way of getting there, okay? So, and that's what this live stream is all about, is showing you different ways of doing things. So maybe you're like, you know, Shane showed me that one way that one time. I think I'm going to try it out because that seems like it would work for this instance, you know? Just kind of pulling these dots in just to line up, keep it straight. Something like that. Anyway, so now when you get, you know, you put metal on here, metal material, it's going to look pretty smooth and clean and sharp. One thing I should have done is, when I was creasing these edges, is put them to crease level 3 instead of crease level 15, which is the default. So I'm gonna quickly undo those creases and redo them. I wish there was a way to do polygroups based on creases, but there's not, unfortunately. So let me just clear these off. Uncrease all. This is what it looks like. It has no creasing whatsoever. It looks like an army hat or something. So I need to set crease levels to 3 right here. All right, Lord Humongous, take care, man. It is, but you know, these tools though, you don't need to know them all. it's, you know, it's all about getting to where you need to be. If you know how to get there this way and there's a better way, you still know how to get there. It just might take you a little longer. So it's not like I need to learn all this stuff. That's not it. It's like, well, I know how to do it this way and that's going to get me what I need, so that's what I'm going to do, you know? So I mean, there's so many different ways. I could have just kept it inside of ZBrush and just used the geometry that I had and try to get ZRemesher to work. And yeah, there's all sorts of different things you can do. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys the clean topology way that I like to do occasionally when I'm building objects. So sometimes I'll just say, you know what, I'm going to take this into somewhere else, retopologize it, and bring it back in and use that as the low and the high. And yeah, I do it quite often. I will build temporary geometry, pull it out, retopologize it, bring it back in, and I'll use that as both the low and the high. I do that with teeth all the time. I do it, well, sometimes if it's something as simple as teeth, like the horseshoe teeth, just simple teeth, I'll just leave it in ZBrush because I can get that simple low topology just inside here. I could also, if I knew ZModeler better, I probably could have modeled this with ZModeler, but I just don't know it well enough to be comfortable with it, you know? Okay, so let's crease. I just need to turn back to edge, crease that, and these two. Turn on creasing. Okay, now we have it all creased again at level 3. What is level 3? If you guys remember what creasing level 3 gets you, eventually when I'm ready to put this into production, what I need to do is actually apply real subdivision levels. But before I do that, hang on. Before I do that, I want to mirror it. So I'm going to do a mirror and weld. Oh, thanks, Donna. Mirror and weld. Oh, I got to turn off local symmetry first. If that ever happens to you and it like does a mirror and weld on itself, then you have local symmetry turned on. Make sure you turn that off, then hit mirror and weld, and it should mirror across the center of everything. So now when I hit D for dynamic topology, you'll get this, and then I can hit apply and then subdivide it a couple more times, like up to, let's see, we're at 300,000. Sure, that works. And when I subdivide it past level 3, you'll see all of these edges, they go away from being perfectly crisp. You can see they have a nice smooth edge now. And that's because that's what you get when you do a crease level 3 on all of your creases. You get a nice beveled edge like that. See that? Nice. Okay, so because a lot of you might be used to using support edges inside of like Maya, where you actually run 2 loops very, very close to each other. And that's just a giant pain in the butt sometimes, especially when you need to go back and edit something and you have all these loops that you're trying to deal with. It's much easier, in my opinion, sometimes to just use crease levels. But, okay. Yeah, ZRemesher is not going to get you everything, but it is much, much nicer than the previous one. It's much nicer, especially when you use keep groups and stuff like that. It's much nicer, but it's not going to give you game resolution topology. It's just not. And I don't know if we'll ever see a day when a program will give you game resolution topology, but games are catching up and you're using more and more polygons. So I would think eventually it's not going to matter as much because the machines can just handle more polygons, whether it's like perfect topology or not. So I think that will happen, but I don't think an algorithm will give us perfect game topology, if that makes sense. What exactly is local symmetry? There's like 2 buttons for it. I know, Zalf. It's really dumb. Honestly, it's stupid. If you go up into transform, there's L symmetry, and one comes on, I think, is it under transform? Where is that thing? I thought it was under transform. Modifiers. Where in the world is that? So this one is under, yeah, transform LSim right here. So local symmetry. And there's another one named local symmetry, but it's not local symmetry. It's like L. Anyway, this is the one you want. This is the one you want out on your user interface, because this one, what it will get you is if you're wanting to scale an object in symmetry. So I have symmetry turned on now. Okay. If I scale right now, look what it does. It scales to the world axis. Okay. If I turn on local symmetry, which is right here on the user interface, then it will scale to the local axis. See the difference? So if I turn it off, it scales to world axis. And that is why, that's why when you do mirror and weld with local symmetry turned on, it's going to use the local symmetry of that object to mirror it, if that makes sense. So you want to turn that off if you want to mirror in the world space, if that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, ZRemesher is not a retopology tool. It is not. It's a let's make our base sculpting mesh better. That's what it is. It's just like temporary underlying sculpting mesh. That is what ZRemesher should be called. I'm just kidding. There's a tool called InstaLOD. This gives you perfect game topology like ZRemesher. But that's an LOD, right? That's like, I'll have to look at it, but I've used LOD makers in the past, and that will essentially take a game resolution mesh and make LODs out of it. So it won't give you your, unless I'm mistaken, but it won't give you your proper game mesh to start with. It will just give you LODs after that, if that makes sense. So LOD means level of density, and it basically you will have several different levels of density of your mesh in a game as it gets farther away from a camera. So as it goes off into the distance, it will reduce the count of geometry as it gets lower and lower. Most games have like 3 or 4 levels of density like that. And that's what a program like that will give you. So it will, yeah, it will let you build LODs off of a game mesh, but it won't take a, several million poly game mesh or a several million poly high resolution mesh and make a game mesh out of it. I have yet to see something like that. Yeah, a decimator, it'll probably triangulate. Most LOD programs will triangulate, and it's essentially a decimation tool, right? Yeah, Decimation Master inside of ZBrush is absolutely accurate. It's super accurate. But it's all, I mean, I haven't looked at that yet, but it's all triangles. Is it, I might be wrong. Maybe something has happened where it's like they figured it out, but okay. Let's, are you guys satisfied with my explanation? Does that make sense? Let's see. Let's get these new shoulder hats into place. But I'll have to check that one out. Ariel, thanks for the links. Let's see. So this is interesting. There we go. Okay. Still tries, Jace? Okay. Yep. So a good game topology mesh will be quads like this. Mostly quads. You can have triangles, but very, very few, and you need to have lines where the joints are going to bend. I could probably use another loop around the ankles, but you have more lines around joints, especially in the shoulders like this, where it's going to bend. So that's called deformation ready, and triangles really really don't give you that, right? They're not gonna. It's gonna give you even triangles across the surface. It's not gonna give you quads. Oh, you're not annoying at all. I want you guys to feel good about asking questions, and I hope I don't make you feel degraded or anything like that. I want you to ask these questions so I can explain to you, you know, the different in actual production development, how these tools are used and why they work the way they do. So yeah, please don't stop asking questions. Okay. I need to turn on these. Okay. Let's rotate these into place now. Every time I say shoulder hats, I think ass hats. Oh, man. Okay, they need to be a little smaller. Oh, let's turn on local symmetry. There we go. He's coming together. Coming together. Is there any major difference between a game ready and an animation ready mesh? So the difference is no difference if you're thinking of an animation mesh that you're going to use in a game, but there is a difference if you're going to make an animation ready game that's ready for film or television. They're slightly different. And if you're going to use a mesh for television or cinematic, or not cinematics, but film, usually you get to use subdivision levels inside of a film because it's rendered at the end. And then you will use displacement maps rather than normal maps. Displacement maps will actually displace the surface geometry on the surface of your character. So you will get all of the details will actually displace the geometry inside of a decimated, or not a decimated, a subdivided mesh. And that will happen after the mesh is subdivided. So I feel like it's cheating in a way, because, you know, with games, you have to be like really ultra conscious of your poly counts and your map sizes and all of that stuff. And you have to fake everything. You have to fake all of the detail in the surface. You have to fake extra surface detail with normal maps. And normal maps, that's just describing the surface forms and undulations and stuff like that, where in a film, you get it for free because it's rendered. So that's kind of the biggest difference. Glorious! Compared to the other teacher? What other teacher? I don't want to... Don't say names. Don't say names. Yeah, it's so used for static meshes, but still with with LODs, going back to LODs, they are a necessary thing for game engines when there are a lot of characters on screen at once. See, with game engines there is a budget. It's called a polygon budget and a texture budget. They're two different things, and game engines will automatically reduce the textures. So it's called authoring. If you're authoring in a 4K texture, that's probably what we're going to build for Sirloin, is a big 4K texture. If you author in 4K and then you put it in the engine, the programmers will automatically reduce the size of that texture as your character gets farther and farther away from the camera, if that makes sense. Also, it will do the same thing to your meshes and your bone count. So, for example, if you have a cinematic character that has a whole bunch of bones in the face to make him talk and blink and all that kind of stuff, as your character gets farther and farther away from the camera, those bones are going to start disappearing because they don't need to be drawn, because you can't see that character. It doesn't need to be talking from that close up. So like the eyes and the blinking and stuff will just go away. And your model will get... It will have LODs, so it'll have the level of detail will go down and down and down as it goes away, right? So that's what those programs are meant for, because creating LODs by hand is a nightmare. You think retopology is a nightmare. Creating LODs by hand. Jason, so Newkirk, I worked with Jason Newkirk in Seattle, and we had to make LODs for, didn't we make LODs for that Brother Bear game on PC? So we had to make some LODs. Well, they were already pretty dang low to start with, but I've made some for like a boxing game, like a crowd in a boxing game. We had to make the whole crowd and have LODs. Yeah, it can be a major pain in the butt. So programs like that really, really help out. So anyway, okay. So no worries. But I appreciate you bringing it up, and it's awesome. But the end moral to this entire conversation is ZRemesher will not, and in my opinion, will never be good enough for a game mesh or an animation mesh for film or television. It will just not be there. There is not an automatic solution because there's not the human touch. You can't say, put extra loops in the knees or put the pole here so it doesn't deform weird. You know what I mean? So you have to like physically say, put the pole right here so it doesn't get messed up. Yeah, they're just awful. Handmade LODs are awful. I wouldn't wish them on my enemy. Where did his legs go? I thought, okay, there they are. Why aren't they showing? Show me your legs, sirloin. There they are. Okay. Yeah, Donna, there was a Brother Bear game. It was a silly little kids game. It's just PC only. I think we made it in like 3 months. It was pretty ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, where are we at here? Let's start to react to all the parts and start to adjust things and get things into place a little better. So I'm looking at this torso and I'm looking at the concept, and the torso that I have feels a little bit too long and it needs to be a little rounder. Also, the skirt from the edge of the bottom of this armor to the bottom of the skirt is much longer in the concept than it is in my model. So let's react and start to nudge things around here. Okay, so in order to move these things, sometimes what I like to do is you can use the pizza box method. You guys know the pizza box method, right? With inside the gizmo, these little pizza boxes right here. You can use this to move stuff around. I'm going to show you how you can do that. Okay, and it will respect masking. Okay, the pizza box stuff will respect masking. So I'm trying to decide how I want to do this, because another method is also I could take this whole thing into into pose master, T-pose master, and just shrink it up and move things like that. So, hey, what's up, Chris? Yep, some nudging. Let's do some nudging. So instead of doing the pizza box stuff, I'm actually going to do the T-pose master, and I need to save this first because T-pose master is very, very inclined to crashing. So always, I mean, I did a whole lesson on it in the course, how to prepare for posing, right? But you don't have to use T-pose master just to pose. You can also use it to nudge a lot of things at once. Like if your character is too tall. I'm doing a freelance job right now, and the character I'm working on, her legs were too short, so I just barely had to lengthen them. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. You're like, do I have to go into every single subtool and nudge each little thing up? That's a pain in the butt, right? I don't want to do that. So let's go into T-pose mesh right here. Pizza. You said pizza. Okay. Now, since we have live Boolean, I'm going to turn live Boolean off. But since we have live Booleans going, that's going to make our shoulders and stuff just look like a mess. And that's okay. We just ignore it. And what we're going to do is we're going to use masking. We're going to mask right across this area right here. We can invert it, and then I want to tap on the surface to blur this up into the body like that. See that? So it's blurring up into the body. And then we can show our gizmo, and I just want to pull everything up like that just to get him rounder. He feels better already. Okay, and then I can pull this skirt down, but I think I'm going to pull the skirt down not in this mode. I could. I'll show you how to do it if you want to. But the reason, let's see. So I need to bring this skirt, and I want to bring this along. Well, maybe not. This is the piece that's actually cutting out from the skirt, but I think the skirt is just one piece. It's just thin. So what we can do now, since the skirt is hidden, we can just mask this whole thing like this. I thought it was in lasso, so I'm like, woo, lasso, but I'm still in box. Okay, then unhide that skirt, and now the skirt is unmasked and everything else is masked. So now we can move this gizmo down to about here. And I want to reiterate too that the gizmo is like a temporary, like, point in space. All you have to care about is where that point is in space. It doesn't matter if the gizmo is clear over here, it will still do that function, right? It's still gonna move the thing around. So you just get it in place to help you out the most without being in your way, is how you can think about it, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna grab this green scale and then scale it like this to make it longer. Actually, that's starting to warp my rivets. I hate it when my rivets get warped. So I'm going to actually move this down to where it needs to be, like this, and then mask off the bottom where the rivets are, and then pull this back up. Yep, it's kind of like a temporary bone rig for sure. Okay, I'm going to pull this up just a little, then mask that off, and then pull it up a little more. And I'm going to have to go in there and edit that and tweak it. Okay, so that's looking better. I do want it to like flare out a little bit more. So I'm going to have to figure that out. Chris, the Disney Infinity Hulk is in the birthday cake of your daughter. That's awesome. Okay, so now I'm feeling pretty good about this, so we're going to go back out of this state, this T-pose master state, and go back. I like when I describe going into the T-pose, it's called transpose master. I like to say I'm going into this state. It's like going into the avatar state, right? And I'm going to be doing all the posing or the adjusting or the nudging or whatever I need to do to more than one part. And then I'm going to come back out of that state, and that's where you hit this T-pose mesh, and hopefully it works. Steven, is it? Okay, it's like, nyeh, nyeh. I have this lav mic right here, this lav mic, and I cannot get it to work with my mixer board anymore. It's just like all of a sudden it decided not to work. It works with my phone just fine. It just won't work with my mixer, and I don't know why. But that was the best because I could look anywhere and it wouldn't mess with my microphone. So maybe I'll move it a little more this way so it doesn't change as much, hopefully. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, you have to send that to me. Send it to me on through Facebook Messenger if you would. Let's turn live boolean back on. Okay, so let's grab this skirt and we'll see what it's doing. We can solo it. And it looks like so there's a lot of vertical cuts. Well, they're horizontal, but that we can get rid of. So if you ever have a geometry that's doing this to you, see how it's like straight and then it goes like that, kind of. It's like this. It's just getting cut like that. There's this little tip right there. So how do you go in and get rid of that? Well, an easy way to do it is go with the Z modeler, go in here and just start deleting edges. So insert, and then just hold down Alt, and that will delete. And then just go all the way down, and now it's clean and straight. That's a super cheaty way to do it. And then I can just put one of them back in the middle. Then I want to mask this off because I kind of want to get it to flare out. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. I'm trying to think about how I want to do it. Maybe I'll just move this down here. Okay, it looks like it's in the center. Just kind of move it out a little bit. I can inverse this and shrink it in. Then unmask just this outer edge. Now, if you hold down, I'm holding down Control to get this box. If I hold down Alt as well, it'll turn this white color. And if I let go, it's going to isolate just whatever's inside that box. That's something new. Well, fairly new. It's not new to 2019, but it's new to, like, I don't know if it's 2018 or the last iteration of 4R8. I'm going to see if I can blur this mask a little bit and see what happens when I... It's not going to let the rivets go along for the ride, but... Okay, I'm going to turn off Activate Symmetry, get this in the center, and just kind of pull those rivets out a little bit more. Okay. I'm just trying to get that to swoop out a little bit. All right, now his bum's sticking through there. Let's fix that. So let's turn symmetry back on and just move this around by hand until it's covering. And the reason why you can just use the move brush, you don't have to be, in fact, I recommend not being precise with this because this is an organic leather thing, you know. If it's man-made and it's metal, that's your time to be precise for the most part. But if it's like some organic thing, be loose and chaotic and introduce like problems into it, or introduce chaos is a good way to put it. Introduce chaos into it without introducing like too many warbles or mistakes. Don't make it look like a mistake, but make it look like flavor or flair or just interesting little tidbits. So like, for example, I want to make this kind of go down and scoop up around his hips like this, just to make some flow and interest, and then it'll go back down to cover his butt. See that? And it'll also help with his motion, with his deformation. So when he's walking, this will kind of help to get out of the way when he's walking. Proudbuttcheeks.com. Okay, don't go there. It's probably a thing. All right, he's looking much better. I also want to match that bow that I've now put into the skirt in the armor. So I'm going to pull that down to make that kind of match and be more organic. And then I'm going to grab the armor and do the same thing. See that? So now it's not perfect. It's not perfect. We don't need to be perfect. Let's grab Mask Lasso, and we're just going to mask the bottom. Oh, come on, grab it. Okay. I just want to mask the bottom of this off and just raise it because I don't want it that thick. Something like that. That looks good. Okay, cool. Muy bien. All right. Ariel, hilarious. All right, you guys, I think that is going to do it for today. We made a lot of progress on our shoulder hats, I think. And we got our skirt and we got our some proportion adjustments. I did want to, his fingers have been bugging me because I think they're bent too much. So before we go, I want to unbend the first knuckle of his fingers so they're not quite doing this thing, right? Because I do like them bent in a natural state. Like just hang your arms down to your sides and just let your fingers kind of hang. What what does it look like? What is your, like, have somebody take a picture of your hand, or take a picture of someone's hand when they're in full on rest mode. What does their hand look like? What's the resting state? And this is not a resting state. Okay, so let's go in here and just mask off these fingers. I'm just going to undo them a little bit. Whoa. Okay, I need to get this in center, and I'm just going to kind of go like this. And you have to kind of turn the camera to aim right down all of the fingers so you don't accidentally rotate them out of place when you're doing all four. Rotating all four fingers at the same time is kind of dangerous. So, and this looks like a glove. I mean, it is a glove. It's supposed to be a glove, but I don't know. It needs some help. So, hey, what's up, Brian? Thanks, man. All right. So, we are to this state. I kind of wanted to try some ZRemeshing with this face too, but it looks like we're gonna have to get to that next round, because I wanted to show you guys some ZRemesher 3.0 stuff. But it's, yeah, I spent too much time on the shoulder hats. Looks like we've got some weirdness. Little puck hole right there. What? Really? Oh man. Facebook. Well, you can send them to me via email. I'll check it out. That's funny. Thanks, Facebook. Dummy. Looks like his head is peeking through the back here. What's going on there? Shove that in there. Okay, but see how clean we're getting. It looks like we have some lumps on the back here we could fix. That's just a matter of smoothing that stuff out. But see how clean our shoulder armor is now, and our torso armor. This is how you make your character super clean. You just build stuff in the lowest geometry level possible and crease it and just keep it super low. And then subdivide it and it'll be clean. That's how you do it. Yeah, soft leather gloves on, which he does in the concept. So hopefully when we get them posed and we get them animating and we get them textured, they'll work out pretty good. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I don't know how many of you are here and watching. Oh, it looks like 60. That's a pretty good turnout. Yeah, we now have like 800 plus students in the course, which is crazy. This is awesome. I love it. And yeah, I want to try and get as many people here live as I possibly can. So I'm like, tell your friends, but like you know each other. Anyway, yep, you're welcome, guys. Yeah, and get your questions ready for Friday. We're going to do a Q&A session on Friday, and we'll talk about some models. We'll have a party. We'll bring some pizzas. Anyway, it'll be a good time. Thanks, guys. This was fun. I will see you Friday. All right, take care. Have a good one. See ya.